So what are you up to these days? What are you doing? You just won a couple of awards over the WCMAs.
Hmm.
So you're the producer in demand, I would think now.
Yeah, you'd think. Yeah, I've definitely got more calls. I think trophies are good for getting more calls.
Yeah.
So I kind of have a pretty full schedule just with the bands that I've been thinking about doing before everything happened as well. So.
Who is that? You want to shed some details or keep it secret?
Well, what do I want to keep secret? Anything, I just don't want to jinx anything that I do have going on, and some people don't like to get things too announced before they actually happen. So,
Right.
But I'm definitely working on the new Hot Heat record. We've already started.
Another one already?
Yeah, they want to get a head start so that when they get back off tour at the end of the whole album cycle, they're ahead of the game. So they've been writing a ton of songs, and you kind of got to strike while you're excited about playing and you're excited about music, and they really are right now. So
Wow.
So they've just written a ton of songs. They came into my studio last week, and we just recorded tons of things. So
Where's the studio? Where are you? Vancouver?
yeah, in Vancouver at it's a place called Song City, which has Greenhouse Studios, which is a pretty legendary studio.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same owners that used to own Little Mountain Studios back in the 80s and 90s. And they had Vancouver Studios and then Greenhouse Studios. And then they moved their Greenhouse Studios from Burnaby into Vancouver. And it's a huge complex with about 15 different studios in it. So I have a big studio with a mastering lab as well.
Nice. Are you enjoying the role as producer more than I guess frontman and songwriter? I know you put out the solo disc last year, but it seems you're behind the board more these days.
Well, I would enjoy playing more live, but I just don't really get the opportunity to do so. I mean, my records come out and with not a lot of fanfare nowadays. So, I know that people appreciate them, so I keep making them. And I always like writing songs, but I just want to stay busy no matter what it is. So I end up being more into the producer role and the engineer role.
Right. Now, do you think, you said the lack of fanfare, do you think it's just because it's under a name and it's not Limblifter or something?
Oh, absolutely not. I released a Limblifter record in 2004, and I didn't get a lot of notice for that. So, I mean, the reason I kind of switched it to a name is just because a lot of people said, well, if you're going to release a record with your name on it someday, this should be it because it sounds more like a solo record. So I just felt like that particular record wasn't quite a Limblifter record. I think that there's songs on it that sound like that they could be on a Limblifter record. So, and a lot of the songs I've been writing now have been a little bit more towards what you would think a Limblifter record would sound like. So I might call the next one that. I'm not sure.
I see. Interesting. We had Todd on the show last week who said he'd be game for an Age of Electric reunion.
Well, I don't know if he told you, but we've been writing songs, and we recorded a few, and I just had my brother who played drums in Age of Electric. He just came down and recorded on some of the tracks. So when Todd gets back from Las Vegas in December, he's going to put some final vocals on everything too. So
Oh, wow.
So we've been slowly writing together a lot. So sooner or later we might do something that we might want to release.
That's awesome.
A lot of mites there, hey?
Yeah, a lot of mites, but that's okay. You never know. You can't promise anything, right? Because who knows?
Yeah, we don't really do anything for any good reason. We just sort of, the fact that we're interested in writing with each other, it's going to pan out or it won't. We're not really thinking about a big Age of Electric reunion. And I think there's people out there that want to hear it, but it's not like we'll make $1 million doing it or anything. So we're kind of either going to do it because we really want to, or not do it at all.
Right. Well, I think it'd just be fun, right, to write with a friend again, kind of thing. And it seems like you have been, so that works.
Yeah, we're all pretty busy. He's playing with Flash, and my brother plays drums in the New Pornographers.
Right.
And I'm producing a lot of records, so it's just a fun thing to do when we get the hankering.
Back to the producing, that brings me to an interesting question about Hot Heat, because that's very different. The sounds on that record are very different than what I'm used to hearing out of you. Well,
I mean, just to be clear, I mean, I didn't produce that record. I engineered it and I mixed it. And
oh, okay.
And so, I did do a lot of the production work, but I think that it was more of a representation of, and they asked me if I wanted production credit, and I said no, because it's the whole idea of what they did was they recorded it themselves for the most part. I mean, I recorded a lot of the drum tracks and a lot of vocals and guitars, and even played some guitars and bass on it, which was great. They allowed me to do that. But I think that a lot of it was their brainstorming in their own studio that really led to it. So I think it's produced by them. Whereas the new record, I'm taking more of a production role, so it'll maybe sound more like you're thinking it would sound like if I produced it.
Mm-hmm. Can I get a couple of like storyteller sound clips from you about some of the tunes that we play?
Sure. What are you guys playing? And thank you for playing stuff, by the way.
Oh, yeah, no worries. Well, we have to, man. I love those tunes, some of them.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Wake Up to the Sun.
Oh, Wake Up to the Sun. The video was fun to do, I guess. We did it on a beach, and we had these massive backdrops, so it looked like we're in front of these pyramids, or it looked like we're in front of these farmland, and then at the very end of it, we drop it, and it's just as beautiful of a scene, the real scene that we're in. So, but yeah, so I like that video.
Cool. Screwed It Up.
Screwed It Up. It kind of came from that first record. I don't really even remember writing. I wrote it so quickly. They were, we were still in Age of Electric, and I was just writing demos like mad. And I guess in about 10 rehearsals, we put together that first record. So I'd just written all these ideas, and so it was really great to write in that way, like just without even thinking about it. So,
is that a better way to write?
Oh yeah, I think so. I don't know if it yields the kind of result that it yields. You maybe don't get as thoughtful and intricate of arrangements and things, but it sure is good to just have a bunch of songs without even thinking about it.
Well, and they seem to have worked as well. So. Yeah,
I mean. And whenever I can write that way, I do. And, so some of my new record is written that way, but a lot of it is labored over as well. You got to get good at both ways of doing it to survive, I think, as a songwriter.
Ariel versus Lotus.
Ariel versus Lotus was, I think, largely due to the co-producer, John McClane, just really liking this bass line that I'd written and recorded. So he really loved the bass line that I played, and we tried to replace it a couple times. We got a couple of studio guys in, like Doug Elliott, who plays in the Odds, who's an amazing bass player, and he came in and replaced it, and we never used it. We ended up sticking to that first rough kind of bass track that I'd recorded through my Marshalls.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, and I mean, from then on, I used Marshalls for a lot of bass tracks, like guitar amps, old guitar amps,
right?
Just really cranked up and really loud and distorted. So,
are you doing all the guitar parts then on those records, like the bass and guitar, everything?
Not everything, but a lot of the bass on the first album was mostly Ian Summers, but I played on a couple songs like Cordova and Cellophane, and then the next record, I played most of the bass.
Cool.
And then I.O. Megan Bradfield played the bass.
Going back to Age of Electric, let's go with Ugly.
Oh, Ugly. That's one that we labored over for a long time. We were in Bob Rock's basement with his big, huge Neve console that was in disrepair, so we'd constantly be banging it and trying to make it work. And it was my first exposure to all this amazing old vintage gear, and it was definitely acting its age. And then we moved all that gear into a small part of Little Mountain Studios, which was called Studio D. It was basically an empty room when we moved in, and so it took us a long time to get everything together, and we were recording that song over and over again at the beginning. So I think I played the guitar part at the beginning of that song a couple million times. We literally spent probably a week trying to get guitar sounds before we could make the room sound proper. I mean, and which is pretty unheard of for what we normally did and normally do now, because everything is just pretty instant, but it was one of those learning processes where we spent a ton of time experimenting with that song.
I don't know why it made me think of this from what you just said, but do you prefer analog or digital?
Well, definitely, I'm an old analog guy. Like, I own a lot of Neve strips and Neve channels and old analog gear. I also master a lot of records, and I master it to an old half-inch Studer tape machine.
Huh.
So, I mean, it's good to keep up on the digital side of everything as well. I mean, we always have, the top of the line Apple computer to make things run properly, and I have the best Apogee converters that we can get, and So it's important to stay, up on the digital side as well. But definitely, I'm an old school analog guy.
And of course, remote control.
Remote control. That was amazing because we mixed with a guy named Phil Nicolo. So I flew down with these big 2-inch tapes right on the plane and carried these 2-inch tapes into this guy named Phil Nicolo, who was the Butcher Brothers. He was one of the brothers in the Butcher Brothers who produced tons and tons of great records, and they actually owned the label that the Fugees were on at the time. And when we were mixing, we mixed 2 songs that we'd recorded with Gil Norton, and then if we had enough time, we were going to mix Remote Control. And so he mixed that song for us, and he was sort of on a bit of a financial high, I think, because they had just received their first check from the Fugees. The Fugees record had just been big, and it was about a year and a half into that cycle, and they got their first huge check for that label, and it was millions of dollars, and it literally happened like the day before he mixed that song. So I think he was really excited and happy, and I think that's kind of part of what made that song great, is he just did an amazing mix of it.
That's crazy. Industry's not like that anymore, though.
That's true, yeah.
There's no $1 million checks coming in halfway through. We do something on the show called 5 questions, 5 quick questions, 1-word answers.
1-word answers, okay.
Yeah. Road or studio?
Studio.
Lennon or McCartney?
Lennon.
Most important thing in a song, lyrics, melody, or rhythm?
Lyrics.
This one doesn't need to be one word. Song you've written you're most proud of?
Shit. Alarm bells.
And 1 word, Ryan Dahle.
Shit.
I'm keeping that. That's good.